Welcome to the Podski.
What? Ooh, yeah.
You understand, baby?
Dig it?
Let me tell you another thing.
First name John, last name Baker. Uh-huh. Brother.
Hello and welcome to a bonus edition of the Podski. I am your host, the man of 1,000 gimmicks, John Baker. We got the Pizza Prince, the Pizza Peon, the Prince of Pie. JC is here.
The common man
of pizza. And we have the Lord of the Slice, Justin Andretti, the pit crew leader, the pit crew master, the real wheel man of this podcast. He is here.
The pizza warmonger.
There you go.
And we are here today because we're going to do a preview show for AEW and New Japan's Forbidden Door that is coming up this Sunday. Am I correct on that? Heck, I don't even know when it is. I believe it is Sunday because they'd have Collision on
Sunday.
So, yeah, and this last year's Forbidden Door was I thought it was the best pay-per-view of the year. And it had the absolute worst build to that show. It ended up being the best one the AEW put on all year. So
I don't think I've ever seen it. I don't think I ever even watched it.
You never even watched it.
I don't think I did.
It was good.
It was actually really good. It was really, really good.
Something happened around that weekend where I wasn't in town or something, and I missed it. And by the time I went back to watch it, it felt like it was old news.
Yeah, it was a really, really good show. And this weekend, I have really, really high expectations. We have we have 4 matches that are confirmed, and we have one that we're pretty sure is going to happen. And we're recording this on Tuesday before Dynamite, so we don't have all of the matches, but we're going to take a look at all of those matches coming up. But we got some other things we want to cover too, so that we think will be really good for the listeners, because this is a brand merging of shows, which we don't get these very often, and it's a different way to get the American audience to get new eyes and that wouldn't necessarily ever watch New Japan or have absolutely no idea how to get into watching New Japan or even just Japan wrestling in general. So we have our resident New Japan pro wrestling connoisseur. He is Justin Andretti, so he goes over to Montegi like they did back in the day, and he lets it rip out there on the asphalt.
God. I mean, look, we can. Do you want to talk about some stuff that's coming up first? Do a little bit of housekeeping, then we can jump right into it.
Yeah, we will. Yeah, we will absolutely do that. So there are some housekeeping things before we jump into what we're going to basically give you an overview of what makes New Japan great and why you should watch it and how you can watch it. And then we got a lot of things coming up here on the Podski wise. In a few weeks, we'll have the Maryland Championship Wrestling show that Andretti, Mongoose, and I are going to go to. We're going to go to Jimmy Seafood. Going to check that out. Probably see James Ellsworth. Hopefully we see LA Knight at a Roy Rogers. And he has yet to accept your challenge.
It's what, I had the hamburger challenge for WrestleMania, where I told him that I'd buy him a Roy Rogers burger for every title belt he won that night, or over 2 nights even. But he never showed up, and he probably just got stage fright from it, man. I mean, if I knew that I had burgers on the line, I probably wouldn't want to show up at WrestleMania either and maybe lose a match or 2 even, So I think he just got stage fright from me calling him out. But, it's a shame, because the Hagerstown Roy Rogers is it's a magical place, and you want to try to go there as much as you can and get their food, But one of these days, I'll catch old LA Knight there in Hagerstown, and we'll treat him to a Roy Rogers burger and some fries, and then we'll just let him know that we're fans of his. We're in his corner. We're not trying to put more pressure on him.
That's funny.
So quick question, Andretti. As a well-traveled food connoisseur, where are the best burgers in the United States? What you could do chain, or I know you like local establishments. So
So
give me a top three.
I'm going to sound like a homer here with this, but I got to say it's In-N-Out, dude. I think that
Okay.
from a chain hamburger standpoint, I really do think In-N-Out has the freshest burgers and probably the best burgers, and especially the fact that they pump them out so fast with such long lines. I mean, their food is really good. So I would say probably In-N-Out is my favorite. Now they're not nationwide. They're mostly California and whatnot, but um, look, man, you guys know I like McDonald's. I really do like McDonald's food. I know some people don't. I like McDonald's. Burger King is okay, but for a national chain, I really do think McDonald's has the best burgers. But for a local, like a local standpoint, I would say the best local burger I've had out here. Now there's a really small chain out here called Burger Lounge that's really good. But I would say from like a mom and pop, there's a place in Ontario, California called Avocados that it's got tons of different Mexican food. Their burritos are good, their breakfasts are good, but they've got big big hamburgers with whatever you want on them, and they slather on the avocado and everything on there too. Their food, I would say that's probably the best mom and pop burger I've had, at least out here. I would think in California. Now back home, who's got the best burger back home, man? I don't even know. I don't know if I've had too many burgers recently back home, because every time I go home, it's pizza and wings and freaking banana splits. So that's kind of where I'm at, But that's a good question. I'm not sure what it would be back home.
Okay, well then, I want to go back to your banana split thing, but
there's gonna be a Laurel Highlands banana split war at some point.
If there is, I need to get in on that. I can second Andretti on In-N-Out's burgers because like here where we are in over on the good coast, the East Coast, we are privy to Five Guys, and I would say that I would say that In-N-Out, now this might be an unpopular opinion to my Eastern brethren, but Five Guys does not have better burgers than In-N-Out. And I have indulged in a ton of Five Guys burgers because they are my absolute favorite. But I will say that Five Guys has the better fries. They take a shit all over In-N-Out's fries because In-N-Out's fries are not even comparable to fries. But In-N-Out's burger was like 7 notches turned up to a Five Guys burger. And I will say that Burger King is probably my favorite chain because I'm a big Whopper guy. I don't know about local shops though for burgers. I'm a big like concession stand cheeseburger guy. Like nothing is better. Like you go to like concession stand and you grab a burger. Like there's just something to it that it's good. Like I know that it's not, but it just is.
There's a place down here, and it's a local. Like, there's a couple places here around Raleigh that are like institutions for between, due to a connection to the university or just proximity or whatever. So I agree, and I've never had In-N-Out, so I can't speak on In-N-Out. I'll let you two have the floor on that. Five Guys, though, I can mess up some Five Guys. You bring me that, I'll mess it up. National chains. I like the charbroiliness of Burger King better, but I eat more McDonald's, which is weird. You'd think but it's just more convenient.
Burger King is expensive as hell because
it's gotten really expensive. It's gotten really expensive.
Yeah. So I only go when I have the coupons in the mail. Honestly, that's the only time I go.
Yeah. So like Allison and I have been like going on this like big health craze to like not do any processed foods or anything like that. Well, guess what?
Me too, dude. Me too.
How much do you hate yourself?
No, I honestly have not felt better. And
dude, I was never more miserable in my life than whenever I was like 22 years old in the best shape of my life and hated every second of everything because I couldn't eat what I wanted to eat.
Oh, dude,
it was the worst time of my life. That was the worst time of my whole life.
Oh no, I love it right now. But I was so hungry. I think that was I sent you guys a voice message. I think it was Saturday night. I was so hungry, and I was just like, you know what, Allison, I'm going to Burger King. What do you want? And it was $30.
Attaboy.
All I did was just get a double Whopper with cheese and bacon and a large fry. And
Was that after you got your ass whipped all night?
Oh, that would have been Friday night. Yeah, no.
Okay.
One thing we didn't talk about on Hot Shots, which if you're listening to this, this is coming out. If you're regular listener to the Podski, or if it's a first time listener to the Podski, JC and I, we do a WWE My GM on PlayStation 5 week. It's called Hot Shots Wrestling Alliance. You can catch that in the archives, and that is a show that we do bi-weekly. You can check it out on YouTube. It's got gameplay. We are on the post shows of Hell in a Cell, so you will see who will reign supreme and who continuously makes mistakes in their booking. So, which seems to be both of us at this point. So
a little bit.
That game is so damn hard. It's really stressful.
Yeah, it is. But just to put a button on the top food talk, there's a place down here called Snoopy's. No relation to the Beagle, peanut free, but I don't know what they have to use plastic for cheese, but it is so damn good on these burgers. I'll get a double cheeseburger from them, and North Carolina is like, if you say you like one kind of barbecue versus another, half the state might want to kill you. You're like, if you're a vinegar guy, you're a vinegar guy, and you stay on one side of the state. And if you like mustard based, it's on the other. I'm a damn Yankee. I like tomato based. So I'm in neither camp. They both hate me. But they have a vinegar based one there at Snoopy's, and it's pretty damn good. It's like a shredded pork sandwich with vinegar-based barbecue sauce. Delicious. Can't put it over Snoopy's enough. And then if anybody is ever in this area, the best food, this is my favorite food I've ever had, alpaca. Not the actual like animal, but it's Peruvian charcoal chicken. And they have Peruvian style sides. Oh my God. I'm literally going there the night before I leave and move back home just so I can have it one more time. It is that important to me, and it's delicious. You get half a chicken, all white meat. You get the green beans with whatever magical ginger Jesus sauce they put on it, and then you get rice and beans. It's like 18, $20, absolutely worth it. You feel like you're going to die because you're so full by the end of it, but it's tremendous.
That sounds like a place I went to with my brother-in-law, my father-in-law on Friday. A place out here at the Grove called Pampas. It's a Brazilian place. It's like cafeteria style, but it's Brazilian.
Okay.
Oh my God. They had the plantains, the rice, the freaking yucca powder, the black beans, dude. And you can get you get chicken, steak, whatever you want to get. It was unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah.
You just mentioning yucca just reminded me of Ari Gold yelling, "There's a cab stand at fucking yucca."
There's a cab stand at fucking yucca.
God, what a great show that is.
There's another idea for a show, an Entourage recap.
Yes, absolutely. Just run through all of the seasons and the movie.
Just all of Ari's rants. Have you ever seen that?
Never seen any.
Oh my God!
Oh my God!
Show is so up your alley, dude.
Probably. I've heard it is. I've heard it is.
It's so good. Oh, you
110% you.
Yes.
All right, I'll check it out.
But yeah, so we also
Alice is gonna get mad. We're gonna be reviewing that, and there's not gonna be any more Vanderpump. She's gonna get upset about it.
Well, it's over now, so it's all good. We got some other stuff coming up too. Andretti, take it away here on this.
Okay, so chronologically, tomorrow I'm going to be recording with a relative, my aunt, around noon, and then later on in the day, myself and my buddy the Graws from back home, who I've referenced a lot on here, over the course of time. I don't think he's ever been on here though. I don't think he even did the Royal Rumble show, if I'm not mistaken.
No, I don't think so.
This will be his first appearance, but I've known him since third grade. I've been friends with him since third grade. And the Mongoose is going to be on there too. So we're going to do the first ever Andretti show. So it's going to be Andretti After Dark, Andretti AD, and I'm very excited about it because it's going to be a lot of the same stupidness that you're going to get on the Podski and the Tooth and Nail, but we're going to do look, I got a lot of friends that are in a lot of different fields, And I really want to get those guys to talk about what it's like in their professions and things like that, and crazy stories growing up. So the first episode is going to be called The Deep End of Liberty Park. And Liberty Park was a swimming pool, a community public pool that was in our local neighborhood, that everybody went to. So we've got a million stories from growing up around that pool every summer. We're going to tell all those stories. We're going to tell stories about the local area. And we're going to get into some supernatural stuff too, man, because there's some crazy ghost stories, UFOs, Bigfoot, all this kind of crazy stuff that has happened in the local area. And we're going to talk about some wild asses that live in the area, and some Liberty Park Hall of Fame. And, we're going to talk too about the 1977 Johnstown flood, which ties in really, really conveniently to this, because DeGrasse was born a month before the flood hit, and he lived right there, man, right on the hill, right above the flood. And then my mom and dad got married during the flood, and it destroyed their plans, dude. It totally destroyed their wedding plans. Everything got thrown up in the air. So my mom was generous enough to write down 4 handwritten pages of notes about her story, and just putting everything on paper that I'm gonna share tomorrow. But my Aunt Carol's gonna come on. She's gonna come on. She's gonna talk about it, what it was like being in the bridal party and planning the wedding and all that kind of stuff. So my mom can't do it, so my aunt's gonna come on and she's gonna talk about it. But I mean, that it ties in so conveniently, because the flood almost destroyed the whole pool. It almost destroyed all of Liberty Park. And if that would have been gone, we would have never had any of those memories growing up. I mean, that was our social network, before social media ever existed, was going to the pool. We've got all these crazy stories about all these people that we met there during, over the course of 15, 20 years. I mean, that pool has been around just before 1940. So I mean, my grandmother went there, when she was a kid. So it's gonna be a lot of really cool historical stuff, a lot of really cool stories, stories about me and Draws doing crazy stuff, and other people doing crazy stuff. And like I said, man, just putting people in the Liberty Park Hall of Fame. And I think we've got a hell of an outline. And so hopefully we'll get to everything, and we'll be able to keep it under 7 hours tomorrow night.
I was going to say, this sounds like
that's what I got, dude. I got to have the mongoose there. I got to have the mongoose there, because he's got to help moderate, because we'll get, I mean, it's me and Draws. Me and Draws are going to be on there doing. We might talk for freaking 20 hours. So we got to be careful. We got to be real careful tomorrow.
Yeah, once you get Mongoose on there, he'll get you started, and then you'll still be talking whenever this releases on.
I am gonna do my best, but I am also not gonna cut it whenever things are going well and we want to get these stories told. Right now, look, there's probably. I'm going to go back through the outline tonight, and Draws will tomorrow too, and we'll try to cut stuff if we've got to cut stuff. No, it's no big deal. We got to do 2 episodes. We'll do 2 episodes, but I really want to get that stuff told, because it's just it means so much to us, man, and it means so much to me growing up. And I want to get some cool stories out there and give shout outs to people that deserve it.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome. I'm excited.
Nice.
For that.
I'm super excited about it. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, and we also we got the cheeseburger picnic coming up, and the Laurel Highlands Pizza Wars, which I don't know if JC's gonna is JC gonna partake in the
pizza? Hey, you're welcome to come if you're in town, man. It's gonna be sometime in the second week of the first week, second week of July is when it'll be. So if you're around and you want to come, you're welcome to come.
Yeah, give me some information when it gets closer. Okay. I'm just moving home next week, so and then I have camps and stuff. So, but I'm interested. If I can make it, I will. If not, sure. Definitely pencil me in for next year.
And we're definitely going to do probably a quick preview of that with me and my buddy T3, who I've been doing it with now for 3 years. So we'll do probably a preview of that real quick on Andretti AD, and then we'll definitely do a review. And it's just up in the air whether or not that's going to be a tooth and nail or whether it's going to be an Andretti AD. I just don't know who the personnel is going to be yet, because I don't know if Mongoose is going to try to come or JC or whoever. So we'll figure all that out later. But then after that, we've got Snyder Mania 8, which is the cheeseburger picnic, live from St. Michael, Pennsylvania on July 15th. I'd love to have anybody there that's listening to this. If you're in India and you want to make it over here, man, you want to go eat some cheeseburgers, it might not be your thing, but if you're willing to do that and fly here from New Delhi, you want to hang out, man, we'll put you up. We'll put you up at a pavilion. We'll get you some cookies. We'll get you. I got a Miller Lite keg already ordered. I'm going to have a bunch of Jameson. We're going to get drunk as fuck. It's going to be awesome.
Oh my gosh.
So
Welcome to America, guys.
And
so the reason how this happened was because both of my parents retired from their jobs. Okay. And once you leave a job, you guys know this, once you leave a job or you retire or you graduate from school or whatever, you lose touch with everybody. Right. So I wanted to put something together. Now, this is going to be the 8th one. Now, we took a 3-year break during COVID, but this is going to be the 8th one, which is actually like the 11th year, right now. But it's for my family on both sides, my mom and my dad's side, and all their neighborhood friends and all their old coworkers. So every year people come together and we just hang out and we eat a bunch of food and we tell stories and have a blast and drink, and it's freaking awesome.
That is great, actually. We lose a little bit of that in the modern age.
Sure.
So that's tremendous.
Especially with all these damn podcasts out there now.
That's right. And, beautiful Bobby's coming up from North Carolina. He's driving up. He's going to SmackDown Friday night. And then he's coming up right after SmackDown from, I think it's in Raleigh. And then he's coming up.
It's in Raleigh.
Yeah, then him and his fiance are driving up right after that to all the way up to St. Michael. So it's gonna be awesome. He's already been named the master of ceremonies for the
Lord
for the show, and he's got a speech planned, and we're gonna get video, and we're gonna give awards, and every year I give a big MVP award, but we're gonna do a big. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
That's awesome. Yeah, because even Allison and I are gonna make the trip too.
Yeah, that'll be great. So yeah. JC, again, man, if you're around on the 15th of July and you can make it up to Western PA, man, you're welcome to come.
Appreciate it. Thanks, man.
All right.
And we'll be doing a recap of that too. There'll be some kind of recap show of that probably with video and stuff like that. So that'll be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Man, we got a lot coming up this summer. There's a lot of stuff going on in the Podski network. But yeah. So much stuff coming up, but yeah, we got some other things we want to talk about too. So we got this New Japan stuff. I don't know how, because I'm going to be honest with you, I wouldn't have probably ever watched New Japan if it wouldn't have been for the Elite, and the only way that would have ever happened was because Mongoose is the one that told me about the Elite, because I was the one that was begging him to watch NXT, and he was like, "No, don't watch NXT. Watch New Japan." And I was like, I don't even know. I've literally never watched a New Japan show ever in my life. I have no idea how to watch it. It's definitely a completely different style of wrestling. But Andretti is our resident New Japan wrestling connoisseur. So
scary. That's a scary moniker. Because I mean, I'm going to put that on a resume. I'm going to put I'm the Podski resident New Japan guy and see where that gets me in life. But excuse me here. So I got a look, I'm not a historian, dude, but I got a lot of thoughts on this, and I thought it was a really good idea, JC's, to kind of just put some stuff on paper about why we think New Japan is as good as it is and why it's worth checking out. Because a lot of people, especially in the Northeast, I mean, when we were growing up, we were exposed to basically just to WWF, or WWE, but obviously you could catch WCW, on Saturdays and whatnot before Nitro took over, but before that, you get a lot of exposure just from the WWF, right? And there's a whole nother world out there, man. There's a lot of promotions. There was stuff going on in, Puerto Rico, and the stuff in Mexico has always been really interesting and a lot different. New Japan is probably about as close to what I want pro wrestling to be. Just looking at it as a fan and as like just being objective about kind of what I want it to look like, right? So, pro wrestling in Japan is treated more like a sport, right? It's a wrestling show. It's not a TV show. And there's a really important difference there with that. When you're producing a TV show in North America for ratings, there's a lot that goes into that, and sometimes you've got network executives and things like that meddle a little bit, and they want their own belts on certain shows and things like that. And we've seen that recently, things like that, and maybe they even want people to be brought back to a show that shouldn't be brought back, and maybe they'll even give that guy his own show, and that's a topic for another day. But
here begins your 60 seconds of punk.
Oh my God. Anyway, but I mean, look, it's a wrestling show, is what it is. I mean, they're not driven by TV ratings. They're not driven by TV revenue. So for them, it's a very different thing. And look, man, when New Japan Pro Wrestling is on fire, it really is. It really is the best promotion in the world, and I'll die on that hill, man. But it's so much fun to watch. I mean, they've got an excellent reputation of just being more physical than mainstream North America wrestling. It seems like they've done a really good job too over the years of their developmental. Now look, it's nothing against NXT, nothing like that, or any other developmental out there, whether it's OVW or whatever. But it really seems like New Japan has done a phenomenal job of just grooming those young lions to take over at one point. And you look at the people there now. I don't know if Takagi was a young lion or not, but I know that Okada, Tanahashi, those kind of Naito, those guys were young lions, man. And now they're like the three top guys in the company. So now they've got guys coming up now. They're the young lions that they have right now. And Yota Tsuji just headlined that pay-per-view, from Dominion. And that guy was and so was Sonata. Those guys were both young lions. But it was, what's that?
I'm glad you brought him up, because I wanted to mention that he was a young lion that I didn't even realize he was, because I was getting my feet wet whenever he was a young lion. But yeah, did
they consider Omega as a young lion, or was he in DDT? Because I know he was in North America for a while, the Harley race thing, the WWE camp, and then it didn't go so well. He went back to Canada, and then he ended up over in DDT doing that, but I don't know if he ever actually entered their dojo system or not.
I don't know the answer.
Okay. I don't think Omega was in there.
So Omega is like a self-taught guy, right? Isn't that one of his big things? Is he's kind of like taught himself how to do everything?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Well, his uncle was also, the Sheik, the Golden Sheik. So
it's not like he was self-taught, but I think that he mentioned that he taught himself how to do a lot of stuff.
Or okay,
likes to do. I watched a seminar that he did one time, and it was only on YouTube for like 8 hours, but there was like a 7-hour seminar that he did one time, and I watched it. I watched the first 45 minutes of it before it got deleted off YouTube, and like my mind was blown. Like if you're really interested into knowing the inner workings of like how wrestling works and like what they're teaching people in wrestling classes and schools, like just try to find seminars and what these people are talking about. Because like Omega's big deal was like, whenever I go in there to warm up and work out, he doesn't want to hear the ring bouncing and clanking. Like he tries to do it as quietly as possible, while other people are just in there banging around and like just feeling it all out. And he was like, my approach is completely different, and it totally made sense why he's like literally one of the best in the world.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
And so what I find interesting about the developmental system that they use, they take a really long approach to it, a long look at it. And like, so you're a young lion for a while, you're carrying the bags, you're working out, you're also kind of at the shows, you come in with the ice bags, maybe you get hip tossed over a railing or something. And then you start to get a little bit more probably on like house shows and things like that. And then you actually go on excursion at some point. So that's when you're sent outside to get another perspective. So that's like an example of that. That's how Los Ingobernables came to Japan, because that was a Mexican wrestling faction. They brought that over. That's where that guy you were just talking about who main evented against Sonata, he just came back. That's how Okada was on TNA or Impact, whichever one it was at the time. And he didn't get used well. So like that's how some of that works too. And that's very different than the developmental systems, whether that be like the indies, which kind of then feed into AEW a little bit and into what do they have going, or with NXT, OVW, before that, Deep South, etc., where they do take a little bit of a longer approach, but then they give them horrible names and don't put them in front of crowds.
Black trunks, black boots.
Yeah.
You don't get don't get to show any personality at all.
Like I like it though, man. You learn to work in front of a live crowd, and you grow into a personality, which I think is pretty cool.
Right. And I think that keeps people from like actually be like, yeah, like I remember I saw that guy one time and look at like this finished polished product that he is now. And that kind of
Yeah.
seems to be the reverse of like what you try to see now in American wrestling is where you see people like in Effie. Like you see that's Effie, that's who he is, that's what you're gonna get. And he's not gonna deviate from that probably ever in his career. He doesn't need to, but that's a bad example. But somebody like a Nick Wayne that is a really hot prospect right now. That's gonna be he's now met the one of his final requirements to become a AEW wrestler. That is like what we see is probably what we're gonna get from him for a long time before he ever has to change his character, his style, or anything like that. And that kind of gets exhausting. That's kind of where I'm at with Jungle Boy. Like
Well, that's kind of the thing is the focus is on the work in the ring, right? That's
Yeah.
Japan for the young lady. It's the focus is the work, and then the character comes later. Where in in the U.S. sometimes you've got a guy who's got a hell of a character that can't work, that gets thrown onto shows. I mean, obviously the Ultimate Warrior is a big example of that, but there's been a lot of those guys that have just been character guys that haven't been able to do much.
Somebody like Bray Wyatt. Did I say that? I'm gonna anger
Yeah,
the.
that's another one.
That outside.
That's certainly another one.
And a good example of that, I think, is Zack Ryder. Now he has, or Matt Cardona, I should say, he has the ability to work, but the way he works, if you ever watch any of his matches or anything like that, he has the same moves.
Yeah.
And then he just has a really good character around it. And he's a very good heel.
So
I know some people don't like him because of his personality, but as far as what he does in the ring and, being a dick in public, he's very good at that. And he doesn't, and I think it's really smart the way he does things just because he's doing these things and he's not taking stupid, crazy bumps like you see a lot on the indies. He's telling a story. Now it's the same story weekend after weekend after weekend, as far as in-ring stuff. But the way he's evolved his character since he was let go and then started his indie run and stuff like that, yeah, some of it's gimmicky, but you can't deny the success, and he's not killing himself doing it as far as the moves in the ring. He might be killing himself with his schedule, but so I think that's the other side of it, where that's probably more like what you would have seen in the 80s and 70s, where it's the same thing. He's changing his character up a little bit and he's not killing himself. So that feels like a throwback in a different way. And I think that's where it could possibly work in that way. So.
Yeah. And another one final point on like seeing characters and seeing the same kind of stuff over and over again. And this is probably not a good, this probably isn't a good take, but I've seen while Andretti and I were in LA for WrestleMersion for WrestleMania week, we saw Speedball, Mikey Speedball, which loves Speedball. He was awesome. But we saw the same match from him 7 times. He didn't change anything up. He did the same thing.
All seven were good.
All 7 were good. I'm not saying they were bad, but he did the same exact layout of a match, 7 straight matches. And that's kind of like, I don't know if you're going to see that out of a young lion or somebody that's just come out of the new Japan development system. So, because they're all about the work. They're not about like the spots, I guess you'd say.
And to be fair, they said that same thing about Flair for years.
Well,
yeah,
that too.
Well, Flair turned into a cartoon too by the end.
Well, yeah.
One of the things I really like about New Japan is just their consistency too. I have been consistently in love with them as my favorite promotion since I started watching. I certainly can't say that about the other big wrestling promotions. But the thing about it is their resiliency too. Because they're a touring brand, a touring promotion that doesn't rely on TV money and things like that. But they've been through a lot of refreshes over the years where they get rated. They have talent that is unbelievable, whether it's it's Finn Balor or it's Ricochet or whoever. But a lot of those people will leave New Japan and they'll go take a paycheck in the US. So when guys have to step up, they do, and it's usually pretty great. So when you lose people, and somebody that was kind of like a mid-carder or upper mid-carder or maybe even a lower mid-carder has got to step into those shoes, that person oftentimes will do a really good job of it once they do step up. But I mean, look, a perfect example of this. I mean, right now we're seeing Nakamura and Ricochet and Bronson Reed all working together in a WWE program. Well, look, there's 3 guys that were about to be huge stars in New Japan. I mean, Bronson Reed beat Okada. It doesn't get any bigger than that from a New Japan, standpoint. So, that's been something that just there. Look, I don't always agree with Gato's booking with how he does stuff, but we get there. Now, sometimes I think he gets there a little too quick, but we get there with what he wants to do. And when they've got to refresh and they've got to rebuild and they've got to do it quickly on the fly to get asses in seats, they end up doing a really good job of that. And I gotta, hats off to them for how they're able to do that all the time.
Yeah, and the other thing about Japan too is that their booking style is very faction based, where it's in America, it's all about singles and tag teams, and it's not always the faction, and that's partly because of Vince. But in New Japan, their whole base is based off of these factions, which are Bullet Club, Chaos, LIJ, United Empire. Like, there is a very solid list of established factions that people go in and out of, and it's literally plug and play. It's a plug and play system that has literally worked time and time again.
It would, from a North American standpoint, it would be like if the NWO still existed and there had been 400 people in the NWO over the last 25 years.
Except only there weren't 400 people in it at one time.
Yes.
Yeah.
But think about that. What if we would have gotten the 4 Horsemen till today, right? Where that was still a thing, where guys came in and out of there, for 35 years. I mean, it was like some of those factions have been around for a really long time.
Yeah. And that is actually really interesting to think about, because a lot of people, when you hear the 4 Horsemen or NWO, like your eyes roll, or like Nation of Domination or Evolution, like, which is basically a modern day 4 Horsemen. But to think about like those established factions that were in America over time, like they're bringing it back now. WWE's bringing it back with LWO, and how that was a absolutely shitty, terrible idea at the time. It was so bad, and what is old is new, and it's going to work out fantastic for them.
Right.
Judgment.
Yeah, with the thing about the factions too. I mean,
Bloodline.
This is supposed to be. Yep. It's supposed to be combat based, right? It's supposed to be a real competitive sport, right? So if everybody's hitting each other over the head with chains and steel chairs and all this kind of stuff, like it would seem logical that you wouldn't want to be a lone wolf, right? That you'd want to have friends, whether you're a good guy or a bad guy. You'd want to be able to call for backup, right? So from a logic standpoint, it makes a lot of sense how they do things. Because look, you don't see Okada out there all the time with Yano doing stuff, right? You don't see him out there all the time doing that, but they're in the same faction. Like, they're part of the same group. So, you've got a guy who's a comedy guy in the same faction with the biggest star they've had since Antonio Inaki. So that's pretty cool that they're able to pull that off.
Listen, anytime I see Yano out there, I'm fast forwarding.
I love
the faction was.
I don't even like comedy wrestling, and I think that guy's awesome.
What if we got a Colt Cabana Yano match?
I'm not going to watch that.
You won't even watch
the merch sales would be through the roof.
I mean,
Colt would be sewing shirts.
I know a guy who's got receipts of all the bills he's paid for Colt Cabana. So no.
Press A to subpoena old. What's her name? What's his mom's name? Oh Christ.
Oh, Sweet Charlotte.
Oh, because he said it. I've seen the meme 100 times.
Yeah.
Where it was like, take a bite of a muffin, subpoena Colt's mom, drink a sparkling water, look at Tony and don't apologize. But anyway, so to go back to this New Japan conversation, I was trying to figure out how I would even start watching New Japan. Like, it's easy with AEW and WWE because you can just pick a Monday or a Wednesday or a Friday or a Saturday or a Thursday or whatever, and you can jump in at that point. but I don't know the schedule of New Japan shows. And I know like you can get the app and then you have to have another app to cast it to a TV because their one app does the one thing and then the casting app does another. At least that is the way last time I tried to watch. And I know that they do a couple big shows a year. I just don't know like how to get into it. And I feel like I can't be the only one who has that sticking point of how do you actually start and like what to expect and how to get on a schedule with it.
Well, I think how to jump into it would be to just jump into it and just start with a big show because they're gonna start probably new angles after that show. So you're probably gonna get a couple blow-offs at a big show like a Dominion or Wrestle Kingdom or whatever, right? And then right after that, they're gonna start doing a lot of new stuff. So you can get the schedule. I don't know anything about an app. As far as I know, there's no app, but they've got a website. It's New Japan. It's NJPWworld.com. So NJPWworld.com. It's not always the easiest thing in the world to navigate, man. It's about $7.50 a month. I believe it's very worth it. And you can just go on there, and if you scroll down to the bottom, at least on the mobile version of the website, you can click on schedule, and that'll show you kind of what's coming up. And they tour, so they'll do shows all around Japan. Maybe they'll do like 2 shows a week, or maybe sometimes when they got like a tournament or something like that, they'll do 100 shows a week, stuff like that. But I think that it's probably good to just jump in and ask questions. If you got who's this guy, who's that guy, but I think you'll probably figure it out pretty quick, kind of where people's allegiances are and stuff like that, and just kind of pick it up because they do a lot of good long-term stuff. They do some good short-term stuff too. And I think it's just good just to jump into it. Now the biggest complaint I have, outside of the app, outside of them not having an app that is functional, the biggest complaint I have is that not every show is on NJPW World. So sometimes they're going to have like pay-per-views. That show in Long Beach that I went to was on the website, but it was a pay-per-view too. So even if you had a New Japan subscription to New Japan World, you still had to pay extra money to get that show. But where that comes from is basically situations where they'll do like a joint show, right? Where they've got a lot of AEW talent on the show, or the show they just did with Noah, Pro Wrestling Noah, and All Japan. They kind of have to spread the money around a little bit, when they do a joint show. So you got to pay for those. But outside of that, it's been pretty good to cast it from my phone onto TVs for the most part. Now, I think probably an easier way to do that would maybe use a laptop to cast it from a laptop onto your TV. That way you don't have your phone tied up and you want to check email or something like that while you're watching the show. It won't sometimes it'll break the feed. Like if you leave the page, it'll break the feed. Then that's a pain in the ass, obviously. But other than that, look, they've gotten way better about offering English commentary, but they don't always offer it. They don't always do it, But if you go back and watch, I went back and watched the first Wrestle Kingdom about 2 weeks ago, and it was it was broken up into 100 different pieces on the website. Man, I had to go and click on each one after every match. I had to go click another link and stream it. But there's no English commentary. And look, I know sometimes that pulls people out of the environment, to not be able to hear the commentary. I know people say that about CMLL and AAA and all that stuff too, but it doesn't. I don't have an issue with it. I'm good with listening to Japanese commentary, but I think on that point, Kevin Kelly in New Japan is the best commentator in the world. Now he's on Collision. I love him on Collision, but I think he's perfect in New Japan for the way that they present wrestling.
Yeah, and if you want to watch the New Japan, their crown jewel, if you're an American wrestling fan, their WrestleMania event is Wrestle Kingdom, and that's usually around the first of the year. And then they have the New Year's Dash, which is usually right after Wrestle Kingdom. The other big shows that they do, they have 2 really big tournaments that they do every year. They do the Best of the Super Juniors, which are all of your cruiserweight style wrestlers, and then they do the G1. And the G1 is the really big tournament that happens every summer. It's actually coming up really, really soon if it hasn't started already. We're a couple weeks out. I don't think
it's in July. It's in July, I think.
That's what I thought. And that's where you get, block groups and they all wrestle, and then they have the really big showdown. I can't remember what the G1 climax. I don't know. Is that the actual G1 climax? Is that what that show is called, where they crown the G1 winner, or is that?
I can't remember off the top of my head. I can't even remember.
But their other really big show is Dominion, and that just happened a couple weeks ago. And you heard us review that on the Podski. If you didn't hear that, go check it out in the archives. It's up on there. That was actually the Tooth and Nail episode 1. So, and that's Andretti's show as well. So if you don't know like what you're watching, or I would just say step into like a really big show like a Wrestle Kingdom or Dominion, and you can kind of figure out pretty quickly. Probably Wrestle Kingdom is probably, if you want to watch the biggest show that they put on every year, Wrestle Kingdom is your best bet. And, there's Wrestle Kingdoms with Chris Jericho, Kenny Omega, AJ Styles, Nakamura. So if you're looking for American wrestling as well, or American wrestlers that have gone over there, like the Wrestle Kingdom would probably be a really good place to start.
Yeah, and that's right around New Year's. Wrestle Kingdom is right around New Year's. So then they'll have, they'll do the dash the next day, like you said, and Wrestling Dontaku will come up, after that. Then they'll do that, they'll do the Super Juniors and Dominion and, G1, and then they'll, lead into the, the rest of the stuff after that. But those tournaments are really great, and they're really special, and they're great places to book different things because they give a lot of credibility to the winners right away. I mean, you win an actual tournament, right? You win a tournament of a bunch of people, and now you look like you got credibility. But the thing about that too is
the winner of the G1, they get a briefcase with a contract to face for the championship at Wrestle Kingdom. So yes. That is another thing. It's not a Money in the Bank style. They don't like just cash it in whenever and they run down to the ring. Like it is an actual like award that they win where they are crowned the champion of the G1 tournament and they get a trophy. It's a big presentation, and then you carry around that briefcase with that Wrestle Kingdom contract in it. You carry that the whole way to Wrestle Kingdom. So that's another thing too.
The tournaments too are great because you take losses in the tournaments that don't hurt you as a talent, right? Because I mean, I think sometimes in the in like North American wrestling, there's a tendency to not want to have people lose matches. But when if you're in the G1, you're probably going to lose a couple times, right? Even the big stars end up taking losses now and again in those tournaments. So and people get pinned all the time. Guys get pinned and they lose matches, and it doesn't hurt them in New Japan the way that losing here in North America hurts everybody. And it makes the fans kind of think less of them when they lose a match. It's more of because it's so much more sport based. It makes sense for people to lose, right? Because even like when the Patriots were really good, and they would still lose to the Jets once in a while, right? Or they'd lose to freaking the Falcons or whoever, right? So, every once in a while you have a chance of losing the game or losing a match. That's what it is. It feels real.
They certainly weren't losing to the Dolphins.
That's bullshit. They did it. They would split with the Dolphins a lot. I don't want to hear any of that.
The shows too are like they're not skit, right? They're bang bang matches. There's match after match after match. You don't get a bunch of backstage nonsense with New Japan.
There won't be backstage stuff. There won't be people coming out to the ring and talking. It's all wrestling, and it's all story-based wrestling. So that's another thing too. It's completely a different presentation than what you'll see in American wrestling, where it's all about the backstage. It's all about the glitz and the glamour and the grandiose storytelling. It's the storytelling is told in the ring. So if you are a purist or anything like that, or just want to see something different, the way it's presented, this is absolutely the best way to see it.
Yeah, and it's right now, JC, and for anybody else listening, this is a special time right now to jump into New Japan if you're thinking about doing it, because you've got Kenny Omega still working there. Tanahashi is still working. Okada is still on top of his game. That guy might be a top 10 guy ever. Okada, and they got Osprey. Osprey's there right now, who I personally think is the best talent in the world right now. He's the number one guy for me in the whole world. So there's a lot of really, really good talent right now in New Japan for sure.
Absolutely. And we're going to see that this Sunday at Forbidden Door. And we got a little bit of a snapshot segueing into the show here. We got a little bit of a snapshot of what's to come this weekend. We only have 4 matches that are confirmed, and we have 1 match that will be, I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of stuff that's going to be mentioned tonight. If you're listening to this, this is going to be posted on Wednesday before Dynamite. So we got Bryan Danielson, which everyone says is the best American wrestler this generation, and you have Kazuchika Okada, who literally is one of the top 10 guys of all time. And this is the dream match. This is is this gonna be, I'm pretty sure that the next match I'm gonna mention is I've heard that the Kenny Omega Will Ospreay, I've heard that's gonna be the main event. I'm not too sure, but this Bryan Danielson Okada match this has been a dream match for literally years, and I'm super excited for this match. This match, if you're looking for the most pure wrestling, professional wrestling that you can find, it is going to be in that match. I can't name 2 better guys to be in the ring with than those 2.
This probably would be a great time right now if you're a North American wrestling fan and you like Danielson and Moxley and those kind of guys. This would be the time this week to buy Forbidden Door and see those Japanese talents work with the people that you already know. And
Yes.
You're going to see how talented they really are, man, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we got as mentioned, we got the Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay for the IWGP US Championship, which that is the New Japan. That is their United States Championship. That is Will Ospreay. So if you're familiar, a lot of people were familiar with Will Ospreay already because his match back, oh my gosh, it's been 10 years now, it feels like, with him and Ricochet in that match, which lit the internet on fire. But this Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay, this is the second time they're meeting. Their first match was at Wrestle Kingdom from this past year. And that match was literally 6 months ago, and it's still on my list for Podski Awards as the best match of the year so far. So if they're gonna put together a trilogy here, I'm assuming, and it's gonna, the rubber match is gonna be at Wembley coming up for All In later in the summer. But this match, it only makes sense that this match is gonna be the main event for Sunday night. And I can't wait. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, this one, if it's as good, if it's even close to as good as the first one they did at Wrestle Kingdom, and I watched that Wrestle Kingdom show. It was a tremendous match. If you want to see why Kenny Omega was called the best bout machine, these are the kind of matches. If you go back and watch him and Okada, and then you go watch his matches with Ospreay, and it's not the first time they've work together, but it is hard hitting, it's fast paced, it's all of the big spots that you see a lot of spots and big stuff on AEW, but when you watch them work outside of AEW and you watch them work in New Japan, and he turns into Kenny Omega, New Japan Kenny Omega, now you get all of the crazy shit that he normally does and add to that way more hard hitting. You think those V triggers look good? Everything looks that good.
And they just they lay it in so deep in New Japan. The way that they bring it is just, it's not even it's not
not a work. Let's put it that way. It is just on the south side of work,
cusp of being shoot style, and that's what they mean by strong style, and it's very apparent when you watch these matches. But yeah, super excited. I know that Andretti, I'm sure you're really excited for this match because you love both. And Mike Davis.
I don't even know what to say about this card already. I can't wait. I can't wait to see it, man. These are matches that are just on paper are like a fever dream. to get some of this stuff. So look, man, I'm all in. I'm all in. I don't care. I hope this show's 30 hours long. I can just sit on the couch. We got new couches delivered today. I hope I can just sit on that couch and just drink a handle of Jameson and just text you guys and be like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. Because that Okada Danielson match has got a chance to be a 5-star match. You've got a chance to be a 5-star match with Omega Ospreay. I mean, you can't put a better card together. You can't put a better card together unless you're saying that, I mean, who do you want to see more than that? Who do you want to see right now more than Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay? Is there anybody?
Maybe Okada and Danielson.
Yeah, maybe Okada and Danielson.
And you're going to get them before because they're going to be the semi-main.
Yeah.
It's literally, this card is going to be insane. And I just can't. We haven't even got to, New Japan's world champion, who is Sonata. So if you checked out, New Japan previously and you saw who Sonata was and you see who he is today, that is not the same dude that you saw in that tag team with Evil. Like, that guy looks completely different. He looks believable now.
He's awesome.
Yeah. They leveled him up big time.
Oh, big time. Dude, they cut his hair and dyed his hair back, and he looks 15 years younger than what he was.
Mm-hmm. And I didn't know it was the same person at first.
Dude, he looks like a dude with that belt. He looks awesome with that belt. And I know I've talked a lot of shit on Sonata on this podcast, but I mean, they just revamped the hell out of that guy and breathed new life into him, and his confidence is way higher. He's having excellent matches. He's one of my top 5 guys right now that I like watching. So I can't wait to see it. Now I'm concerned about this match because I don't like the fact that they got the New Japan champion in a match with somebody that is not really at that level. So I'm not super happy with that. Unless they're going to do something with Jungle Boy where he's going to turn heel. I think the right thing to do with Jungle Boy, and we're not trying to fantasy book here, but I'm just going to throw this out there. He should turn heel and be more evil than Christian and Luchasaurus. That is where he should go.
Yes. I'm tired. Listen, Jungle Boy was an AEW staple from the inception of AEW. Like, if you've watched AEW from the beginning, Jungle Boy has been a staple of the brand, and he has worn out his welcome, at least with me. Like, we've seen him the past 3 going on 4 years where he's been Jungle Boy, and he's just been getting beaten to shreds, beaten to a pulp as this boy. And it's like, I know that, like, that's probably why they've done what they've done, but at some point the boy has to turn into the man. And like, if he does do the turn, I feel like this has got to be the best place to do it. And he's got to be more evil, more dastardly, more heelish than what Christian and Luchasaurus are. And they've been absolute shitheads. So like, how do you, it has to be a huge turn. If they're going to,
here's how it works. Here's my official doctoral prediction.
Oh, here we go.
He's got Hook with him.
Yes.
Everybody loves Hook.
Yes.
He's made the comment this year, and even in that promo when he accepted the open challenge, he said, I'm going to win a singles belt this year. I think it's a good match. I'm not worried about the in-ring product with these two. I don't like that there's not a lot of build-up, but I think it's because they're starting a story with Jungle Boy, and it won't have anything to do with this going forward. It's just, this is the platform to move on. So what I think is going to happen is he's going to have a great match with Sonata. It's going to be awesome. It's not going to be a 7-star, maybe if it was in the Tokyo Dome, but it'll be a good, it'll be a very good match. The ring work will be good. And then like Hook's going to slide in at the end after Jungle Boy loses, because there's no way Sonata's not going to win this, right?
If Sonata doesn't handle most of that match, I'm going to be irritated.
Yeah. So I believe that's what's going to happen. And then, so Jungle Boy's going to lose. Hook comes in, and Jungle Boy's all distraught and pissed. And then that's how the turn happens. So, sorry, man. Like, but whatever, punches him in the face. Everybody loves him. If you're going to turn on a babyface, and you're Jack Perry, that's the guy. You have a history with him. Everybody loves him. Then it's a feud for the FTW title.
Is this the place where Taz takes the bump?
Ooh.
Does Taz
I
run
hope
down?
not,
Does
'cause
Taz
that-
run down
I don't
in
wanna
the
see
ring
his
and
neck
Jungle Boy
explode.
lays his ass out?
Could be.
I mean, if you're gonna be a heel, why not do it on Taz?
Yeah.
Why not have the old man run down there to save his kid and have him kick his ass too?
That's
Get the
lie.
whole Sinercha family, put them all in the dirt.
Can we get Chris Chetty? Can we get Chris Chetty back from ECW and have him take a bump too? The cousin.
Well,
Taz's
Sabu
cousin?
did it the other week, so shit. Why not? We're getting everybody else from ECW.
That just seems like a layup. But I mean, what we're gonna see. And then the other match, and this is where JC had a really good point that we loosely talk about here. Is so if you don't go to check out, we absolutely encourage you to check out the Hot Shots Wrestling Alliance. But JC and I talk about this a little bit on that show. It's coming up later this week. But it's MJF versus Tanahashi for the AEW World Championship. And if you don't know who Tanahashi is like the Hulk Hogan of New Japan Pro Wrestling. Like, he is the staple, and he's been the guy. And
Big baby face.
huge big baby face. And MJF is. I'll let JC take it away. I don't want to steal his thunder here.
So I can't take all the credit for it. I did see this on the internet, so I can't take full credit for it. I'm sorry. I don't know the original source. I'm used to citing things. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna say check Twitter. But what I saw and what I think could happen is MJF talked about, I don't want to defend my title against this guy from the Japan indie show kind of thing. He doesn't really think much of New Japan, right? Mm-hmm. So the challenge went out and he basically said bugger off, and then he said even if Tony goes ahead and books this, I might just not show up. So what I think is going to happen, and what I saw online, and it made a lot of sense, was if you watched Collision, Punk came out with a velvet bag. He said, I never lost what's in this bag. So what I think could happen is MJF, quote unquote, no shows. Hiroshi Tanahashi's in the ring. They play Go Ace. He's playing the Flying V, whatever. Right? So, exactly. MJF's music hits. Nothing happens. He doesn't show up. And then all of a sudden, and Cult of Personality hits. Punk walks out with the bell.
What do you see? The Cult of Meat with
extra cheese. Exactly. So I think that's what's going to happen. I think MJF doesn't, whether that's kayfabe or not, doesn't want to defend it against Tanahashi. So they're using that, and he brought out the belt last week. I think that's how it's going to go down.
And that, in a booking standpoint, would make sense, because that was what was supposed to be the match last year before Punk broke his foot. So that would make sense. That make a lot of sense.
And I think it kicks off a main event feud with Punk and MJF.
You don't think they're going to put that belt on Cole?
Honestly, I wish they would, because I love Adam Cole. I don't think it's not his time, in my opinion. I wish they would. I hate to say this because he is one of my favorite wrestlers, but I need that man to have just a little bit of muscle tone. Because it looks bad, and I feel bad because I know he's a hell of a worker, but I need him to do a little bit more.
Come on, Cole. We'll take you down to the dungeon, and this isn't the Heart Dungeon, but we'll take you down to the dungeon, and you can hop on the DeFranco's weight training, and we'll get you toned, brother.
That guy works. That guy probably works out harder than anybody in that company, and he can't put weight on. He's probably one of those guys.
Probably does.
Yeah.
But when he couldn't pick up that fire extinguisher in that match against Jericho. I know that's a hard angle. I get it.
Hard angle, but I feel like fire extinguishers are heavy. I have no idea, but they just look heavy. And a really bad angle for him to lift that up, but really hilarious visual for Jericho to
drag. The lifts. Oh my God, the lifts in his boots.
Hey, it's all right. As a short man, I understand that.
Hey, we respect short kings on this podcast.
Not a short.
I'm not one, brother. You're like a short king 0.5, okay?
Yeah, I'm definitely.
And I mean, I'm not the tallest guy on this podcast right now either. I know that, but
Well, Andretti's
no,
the largest human we have in the Podski network. 6'8",
yeah.
barely fits in his car.
Like I'm 6'1", but like I don't know. When I was watching him in that match against Jericho, and they both had lifts, but like you could see Cole's lifts were big, and I was like, you are not helping yourself.
Yeah,
And I don't know. If we could see the same physical version of Adam Cole that we saw in NXT, zero problem.
You know, he was hurt and couldn't do anything for a long time, right?
I know. And again,
he's
my favorite modern wrestler. I know he's my favorite modern wrestler besides Cody. Okay, we're from the same general area of the country. I know where his high school was. No
electricity at that high school.
Yeah, exactly. No weight room either. I kid. And again, I really like if they put it on him, I'm very happy. I am very, very happy. He's a hell of a worker. He's a hell of a storyteller. It didn't look good. And then you put him juxtaposed with MJF, who looks like $1 trillion. They are damn near equal on the mic.
Mm-hmm.
So, just looking at a visual difference, they're about the same height. They're very good on the mic. Their ring work both is very good. But the only glaring difference, and I know he was off, and it's a brain injury, and I'm sure he's working his ass off. I have no doubt about that. So I'm sure it will get corrected and everything will be great. It's just, please don't do it until he looks like a champion for all the people who hate him and don't like because he's a smaller guy. Please just make it look good. But anyway, I think that's not going to be a thing for a little while. Like, I think they should revisit it when he's ready to drop. But I think what they're going to do is Punk and MJF as the two, who's the real champion. Mm-hmm. And that'll bring people to Collision. And so I think that's where they go. But if you're going to put it on Adam Cole, please do. I will be very, very happy all day, baby.
And we have one final match that we haven't talked about, and that's because it's not final. It's not confirmed yet, but everything is leading that way. And that is Orange Cassidy. He is the AEW International Champion versus the New Japan Television Champion, Zack Sabre Jr. And a lot of people have probably heard about Zack Sabre Jr. He is a very mat-based heavy wrestler style, which is boring to me. I don't like watching Zack Sabre Jr. I think it's a snooze fest. I think, and I only have the frame of mind from 2019 Zack Sabre Jr., where he was like a flabby white kid, and it just drove me absolutely bonkers. So I'm actually excited to see a new Zack Sabre Jr. For once, and I know that Andretti is a big lover of Zack Sabre Jr. now. So
I do now. I love him now. I love TMDK. They're my favorite faction right now in all of the whole industry. But this should be a hell of a match. It really should be a hell of a match. And it's like Mongoose said, man. Mongoose had a really great point about Zack Sabre Jr. He said a couple times on here, if you give me 15-minute Zack Sabre Jr. matches, I'll watch every single one of them and I'll like every one of them. But if you give me 30 minutes of him, man, there's no way I'm not watching him for 30 minutes. That's a great point.
Yeah, that's true.
I agree with that. And when you guys were talking about that the other episode or two ago, I kind of thought the same thing. And I kind of sometimes think the same thing about Orange Cassidy. I know he has the ability to work and he can tell a really good story. And I think one of the things about his title reign this time with the international championship championship has been that some of his stories go from match to match. Like injuries you can see are building up. The overall arc of the story of him being a working champion and defending it every week and the hill that he has to overcome as a babyface in every match, and throughout this arc is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So it's been wonderful in that regard. And some of the gimmicky stuff he does in the matches I enjoy. I know a lot of people don't, a lot of people do. But I think again there too, like that's a corresponding strengths where you could have a 15-20 minute match between the two of them and it would be excellent. But I don't know that I need to see 4 or 5 rounds of hands go in the pockets.
Right.
Once, twice, the same thing with the joint manipulation. One couple spots here, couple spots there, some chain wrestling. Sometimes less is more.
Right.
And if you look at the way the card is, and we talked about this before we started, there's only 4-5 matches.
Mm-hmm.
Well, some of those you might end up going 30, 45 minutes. So you can have a 10, 15, maybe 20-minute Orange Cassidy, Zack Sabre Jr. match, and the other part of that time slot is taken up by something like an Omega Ospreay that'll go a while. And I'm sure there'll be more too. Like they talked about a women's match, maybe.
Yeah.
And they haven't mentioned anything more about that recently. But so I think that actually works in their favor. And if they go 20 strong minutes, they get both of them, they get their stuff in. Both their stuff is different enough that it's interesting. So I think that actually will work really nicely, and I'm looking forward to that match.
Yeah, I don't know what else they're going to add. I know that a lot of people were hoping, and I was one of them, to get Punk and Kenta, but it sounded like Punk didn't want to work with them or something, right? Wasn't that the rumor?
Yeah,
Did
that's
Punk turned it down?
And I don't know if we don't know if that's true. We have no idea if that's true or not, but that is the rumor, and probably because, well, maybe he probably wants to have that match with Tanahashi. And I can't really blame him for that either. It's like a once in a lifetime deal. You can always face Kenta down the lane. But
I mean, they're going to add more stuff. You can't have 4 matches, or they're going to.
No, they'll do more for sure.
Yeah.
They'll have more.
I don't care what it is, man. If it's freaking Yano versus freaking I don't care. I don't care who it is. Yano
the Red
versus
Flame.
Yeah,
versus the Red Flame. I don't care. Let's do it.
But yeah, make sure if that's something you want to check out, be sure to check it out. It'll be this Sunday or in the BR Live app, or Bleacher Report. BR Live is dead. Bleacher Report app, that's where you can catch the AEW and New Japan Forbidden Door show. And be sure to check us out on all of your socials, on at @the_Podski, on Twitter and Instagram. Be sure to check out JC at the Podski Doc. And you can check out Andretti, who is the Cambria County Coroner, on Instagram. So be on the lookout too for Andretti After Dark, the Hot Shots Wrestling that we do as well. And we got all kinds of stuff. We got all kinds of good stuff coming up here on the Podski Network. So be sure to check all that out. And thank you both for being on here today.
Sure. Yeah, it should be a great show.
Really
looking forward to it. I'm very much looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely. So thank you both for on, and we will see you next time on the Podski.